Okay, it is November the 12th, Sunday evening, just after the weekly open. Let's go ahead and run through the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. So let's go ahead and start off with the bit that we don't really care about. That's going to be the boomer news events. The only thing that we really need to worry about is we do have the US CPI this week. I don't really think it's going to affect us that much. These things have had very little effect on the crypto markets recently, but maybe it's a good idea to just keep it in the background just in case. So let's go ahead and get into the Bitcoin talk. So we have quite a few things to cover here. So let's go ahead and dive straight into it. We're going to start off with the higher time frame breakdown. So essentially, the TLDR of where we're at right now is we've been in a really strong uptrend all year long, and we're at a period where we're definitely feeling overextended and should be kind of bracing for the next pullback. So like we had talked about on the last couple outlooks, right? You know, we have a really strong impulse. We expect the price will continue to drift. That has taken place, and we have now had that kind of drift where we had the original value distribution built here, which drifted up, and now we are currently building a distribution above that. This is a pretty kind of standard structure for how tops and bottoms form a lot of the time, where you will get a distribution and you will get another distribution built right on top of or right below it, right? So below it for bottoms and right above it for tops. So I think that this will end up being kind of the larger distribution, right? These will eventually get combined into one larger distribution. And I think, yeah, that this is probably going to be the local top territory here. Like we've talked about, the 38, 37-ish region is incredibly strong resistance. We'll cover that in a moment, but ultimately, the expectation is that we're going to build a distribution up in this region. For now, the 35K region should be support. To see this range get built up, eventually I'm going to want to hedge. Premiums on futures have definitely kicked it up a notch. We're definitely deep into contango at this point. Nowhere near as deep as we've seen in previous bull runs, but definitely noteworthy still. So ultimately, the plan still remains the same, that I want to continue to watch for Bitcoin momentum to get lost and to see it start to fail into resistance up here. If that's the case, I'm going to start to transition more and more into the risk-adverse mindset, aiming to protect myself. If I see sustained pressure from bulls up into the 38, 39K region, then I think we could probably see another push up towards 44K. So essentially, 38K is the current Gandalf line, and I think that should hold. We should continue to reject off of that, and before we ultimately trade down towards the 30, 31K region. This is the core plan. The invalidations for this are essentially if we start to trade above 38K and hold, then I think that we will trade all the way towards 44K. So let's go ahead and cover that, why we think that. Let's start off with the composite structuring. So the composite structuring from May 2020, or actually, excuse me, it's really from January till May of 2022. We're currently interacting with that composite structure's value area low. That's one of the key reasons why I think that this is the kind of final boss for resistance. If we do get through this region, then we should be able to trade to the other side of that original value. The other thing to point out from a resistance standpoint, right, is that we are currently trading into 2022's value area low and 2021's value area high, right? So we have, in this rough area that we're trading right above, is still pretty significant resistance moving forward. As far as the dip buying arguments go, this, it really can be simplified down to just the value area high right here, or excuse me, the high volume node. This high volume node sticks out like a sore thumb. It's one of the most predominant ones that we can see in the entire distribution, even if you give it multiple years of buildup on the volume profile. We also have the confluence of the yearly value area high. I believe that by the time this distribution gets built and we trade back down here, that the current value or the current yearly value VWAP will have traded up by then quite a bit and will act as support. So ultimately, when we combine things like the composite structuring, overlapping with the high volume node, overlapping with the potential VWAP structure, at the very least the value area high, potentially even the VWAP itself, The higher time frame supports are really strong for overlapping in the 30K region. So just like we had talked about in the last outlook, any substantial pullbacks into the 30K region, you really need to, that's the time to man up and buy it. Essentially, we're arguing that this is the same structuring as the 10K flip back in 2020, I believe it was. It might have been 2019. I don't really. It was either late 2019 or early 2020. I don't really remember exactly, but that was a pivotal moment when the structure really shifted in favor of bulls definitively, and the bull run really followed. So we really want to pay close attention to what kind of interaction we see in this region and in the 30K region, and basically as long as we're holding above that, we should be expecting continuation into 2024. So that's nothing new really. We're just kind of patiently waiting for the higher time frame Bitcoin plans to kind of play out or get invalidated in one way or another. But for the time being, it seems that momentum is still to the upside. So I do want to continue to be pushing risk, but I want to be mindful of the fact that I'm very confident that we're starting to get to the later stages of this little risk on move. And I do think that expecting some form of bloodshed in the not too distant futures, it's a pretty reasonable expectation. So if we get any sort of final drives up into the 38K region, going to be wanting to pay very close attention to what those interactions look like. If it looks like there's really, a lot of actual demand coming in from spot markets, then maybe I won't be so inclined to fade it. But particularly if we are lifting up into the 38K region off the back of shorts closing out, that's one of the primary things I'll be looking for. If I see an inefficient move up into supply off the back of shorts puking, that will be one of the key things that I will be looking for to hedge out my spot. Because I'm currently, I'm still spot long, and I've got the perp long from last week when we had our one little puke last week that I bought up. You can't even see it on the daily chart because dips are so shallow these days. But that's pretty much it for the higher time frame. So for more information, check out the Paragon group with the link below, where I cover everything from how I trade to how you can develop your own style. So let's go ahead and get into the altcoin talk. There's probably a lot of opportunity on altcoins. One of the things I definitely feel like I feel a strong obligation to mention, though, is that some of these altcoins have really lifted off recently, and this is the kind of the stage where I feel the obligation to talk about potentially being a little bit more risk adverse. I'm not saying take the gas, foot off the gas completely here, but a lot of altcoins are probably prime for some more slightly more substantial pullbacks. And you don't really obviously want to be on the wrong side of that, that kind of explosion that could happen. So my plan going into the week, right, is I have 0 altcoin plays open. My plan going into the week will be to be, paying very close attention to what's happening on the spaghetti, and then from the spaghetti going and scanning the VWAP structure. If I have strong indication on the spaghetti and the VWAP overlapping, then those are the things that I'm going to be looking to buy dips on. But I am probably going to be a little bit more aggressive with taking profit this week, where, if I get plays that are working out, trying to be a little bit more aggressive than I was last week. Last week, with any altcoin plays I was taking, I was letting them breathe a little bit more than I'm going to this week for sure. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the rundown. So TRB had a just absolutely horrible week last week. It went down some ridiculous amount. Really, in 2 days, it went down 40%. So just really obliterated people. I think we had a pretty decent OI wipe on it as well. Let's confirm that. That's crazy. Never mind. Open interest went up, so a lot of this was shorting. Open interest is up 60%. Pretty wild. I'm definitely going to want to be paying close attention to TRB. I think that this thing, it looks horrible, but it traded in my kind of buy the dip region. So I think that as painful as it is to look at this chart, there's a reasonable probability that at the very least this thing does some sort of reversion type of bounce, where maybe it trades up into supply and then gets bonked down again, or it just resumes its mega uptrend it's been in for couple of months now. So I'll be paying close attention to TRB. I think TRB might be back on the menu. This YGG coin, you know, we talked about this on the last week's Outlook, and it's up like 40% or over the 40% now from where we talked about that. I might be paying attention to this one for dip buying opportunities as well. Just running through some of the other ones, right? Solana and Link continue to just be, you know, Solana, Link, and INJ just continue to be ridiculously strong. So any shallow dips on Link will probably be ones I would look to buy. Same, you know, same story with Solana. Looking for any shallow dips on this one. INJ, again, right? Any of these things that give me shallow dip plays where Bitcoin maybe does a little intraday puke, those will be things I'll be looking for. Apart from that, like we stressed this a lot in last week's video, but when things are in really strong uptrends like this, the only way that you're going to actually participate most of the time is, you know, with the aggressive, you know, kind of daily or potentially weekly, if you're lucky, VWAP retests, right? You know, so if these things continue upwards, you're looking for VWAP retests, and that's like the only thing that you're going to get for entries, right? You're not going to get these perfect monthly, you know, quarterly kind of VWAP retests like you would love to see. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the week, guys. Again, TLDR, I think that Bitcoin's going to probably continue to look good. If, you know, things start to look weak, then, you know, I'm not afraid to hit the eject button and stuff. Overall, I think that the market will continue to drift up a little bit still, but it does make sense to be light on your feet. Don't get too comfy, because I do think that some blood is probably on the horizon. As far as alts go, probably not going to be scalping too much, although maybe I will here or there, but mostly my intention will be doing Dalai Lama plays, right? So any sort of sell-offs, you know, hunting the strong bouncers and then aping them for the classic Dalai Lama. We're definitely in Dalai Lama season right now. We're probably entering into the later stages of the current Dalai Lama season, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Good luck out there.